have a 500-year supply of oil. We know where this oil is located. December of 2019, essentially weeks before the coronavirus started, America had almost 1,700 oil wells in operation. And almost all of those oil wells were closed down when the whole country was on lockdown and there wasn't a need for that much oil. Now the oil industry to this very day, and we are in August of 2022 at this filming, they still have not turned back on those oil wells and those oil rigs. At the moment, we are using, as a society, there are about 600 or so operating. So that means about 1,100 of those oil rigs and oil wells are idle. And the reason why the oil companies are doing that is because they are gouging not only America, but the world. Everyone invested in the oil industry is getting super rich. I mean, we're talking about millionaires are being made every day through this behavior. The Biden administration, for all kinds of crazy reasons, which every one of them shows us that Biden and the Democrats are not versed in domestic economics and in national economics. They're not using the Defense Production Act. You know, they could make every one of those oil wells come back online if Biden would use the Defense Production Act, and we'd bring our oil output back up to pre-pandemic levels. Prices would immediately fall. But Biden has no idea what he's doing on this front. His team has no idea what they're doing on this front. On top of that, if you look around the entire country, we have about 120,000 unused oil wells in the country. Now, the sort of folks who don't really know the details might rebut that statement and say, yeah, but those 120,000 oil wells are dry. So, of course, they're just capped. They're not being used. Well, that's false. Every one of those oil wells have some amount of oil in them. So let's just talk about sort of percentages. Some of those oil wells will have 5% of the oil remaining. Some will have 10%, 15%, 20%, 25% of the oil remaining. The key economic issue is some oil is very easy to get out of the ground, and most of that around the globe has been obtained already. So the age of cheap oil extraction is over. But that doesn't mean there's not oil there. It means that it costs more to get the remaining oil in those 120,000 oil wells that are on American territory to get that out of the ground. But at current prices, it would still be economical to get the rest of that oil out of the ground. Not to mention new fields that haven't even been tapped yet. So for the oil production and economic effects, Russia's only impact for Americans is oil and their behavior toward oil. Yeah, Russia is a big producer of natural resources, and they grow a lot of wheat and they produce farm products. So the rest of the world, especially the poor part of the world, relies upon the Ukrainian wheat and the Russian wheat and foodstuffs and raw materials. China relies on those raw materials. America relies to a little bit, but it's not significant. It's all replaceable from the American point of view. So Russia's economic impacts are mostly on the rest of the world in areas outside of oil. So as an American, those types of thoughts would not come into our calculation. What is more important is behaving in a way that encourages Russia to join the world of civilized nations.